All right. Well, we are live, and don't swear again.
I'm not going to
You're
swear. I'm not going to swear. What did I say?
you already did. I don't know if it made it to the live because I hit live, and you swore exactly when I hit live. So I don't know
Oh,
if it
did
made
I?
it. Yeah, you
I will
said,
try
"Oh,
not to swear.
yes."
Which word did I say? I don't even know.
OSHIT. By the way, guys,
Let's spell it out.
yeah, you can. By the way, guys, we're not Puritans. I love swearing. Swearing
You
is
know
good
that.
for the soul. Swearing is healthy. Okay, my advice to you is swear more often.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only reason why we don't swear is because YouTube be sensitive, and we need to abide by the rules of the YouTube gods. The
Right.
only gods we respect here and fear, we don't respect them actually. We fear them.
Mm.
You know, we light a candle at the altar of the YouTube gods.
Priapus was a pretty good god. I like Priapus. Look him up. Priapus. Wikipedia. The guy. It's great. He's the one that Priapism is named after. Anyway, welcome everybody. This is another episode. This is our end of month. It's that time of the month. How's this time of the month going for you, Armin? How are you doing?
I'm good.
He's good. So we're at the end of February. We're about to go into March. And at the end of every month, for those of you who are hearing us, who are sort of new to this, we do a Q&A where everybody sort of jumps in. It's a public live stream. You come in, you can ask us anything you want to. There are no questions that are off limits. Of course, we could choose not to answer stuff we don't want to, but still, you can go ahead and ask whatever you want. And
We already have a lot of questions already in the live chat right now.
Right. So, I mean, it's been a pretty good month. We had an interesting, there's a lot that's changing. There's a new administration. We had a whole episode on the future of Saudi Arabia, one on the future of Iran, one on the future of Pakistan. So it was kind of the series. And then, and part of that, the Pakistan thing was a really good interview with Harris Sultan. Many of you guys know Harris Sultan. He's a Pakistani ex-Muslim activist and atheist. Who's sort of all over the place right now. But anyway, so here we go. Let's go with this.
Okay, so yeah, let's try to go through them fast because we will not catch up. Okay, so here's the first one. You want to read it?
Mm-hmm. The first question from Manobik says, question to Ali and Armin, who are your most influential thinkers, authors, and activists of all time, dead or alive? Influential.
I think thinkers would be Daniel Dennett, Sam Harris, Tom Holland. These are authors and thinkers. I don't know. I mean, Mandel. As a teenager, I remember reading his work and following his story. That had a huge impact on me. Also, people like by the way, the people I'm mentioning doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with them on everything or not. They just had a huge influence on me, right? Some active YouTubers, David Pacman, Vosh, AIU. I know some of you are gonna get triggered by some of these names. I'm not agreeing with these people. They just had an impact on me. Who else? Ali, what about you?
Well, I gotta say, that's a hard question. I think just reading about people's ideas. I always like looking at scientists and that I respect and seeing some of their other writings and what they thought about things. So Charles Darwin, one of the things that really just overall in life impacted me. One of my favorite things he's ever said is that, the species that are more likely to survive are not the ones that are the most intelligent and the most physically fit, but the ones that are most adaptable to change. Right. And so the ideas like that from science, the same thing with Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein. Sigmund Freud was a massive influence. I know that he was wrong about a lot of things, but just the fact that he started thinking about the human mind in the way that he did was amazing to me. I think Richard Dawkins as a writer of science, Carl Sagan as a writer of science, these are scientific storytellers, which is what I do in my day job too. So These guys were very, very influential as well. I'm trying to, it's just right now. That's and then there's other people as musicians, people like Chris Cornell. Just the kind of lyrics that they wrote. I mean, I grew up with all of that, and it shaped a lot of who I am. We don't have. Did you mention any women? I didn't mention any women.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, no, we're gonna get in trouble. But
one person I wish, like, I'm upset that the world didn't introduce to me is Hume, David Hume.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. The reason I asked the women thing
and Francis Bacon.
And Francis Bacon. So the reason that I asked about the women thing is because I could think of one who actually had a massive impact on me, and that's Susan B. Anthony. But I can't really think of too many others. Just somebody that I've read about a lot. So, yeah.
Women being great thinkers. Women being great thinkers. What kind of it?
No, God.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. I would actually also put Hillary Clinton in there. But anyway.
Oof. Oh my God.
That is going to trigger people.
That's good.
But yeah, I've liked her. That's it. Anyway, let's go
on.
Susanna.
So, well, for Susanna, it's the other way around, I think. I'm being honest.
Not for me. Speak for yourself.
Okay.
Susanna, don't listen to this guy. Anyway, go on. Another question. Question about how. Oh, sorry.
Wait. I have a woman that had a huge influence on the way I thought.
Oh my gosh! Stop the presses. Who is it?
My mom.
All right, that's beautiful and it's amazing. But come on, that's good.
Okay,
it's a great answer. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on. Next one. How would you consume news and current affairs? Do you have any favorite sources besides mainstream ones? Yeah, okay, that's actually kind of interesting, Armin. What do you go to to get your news? Like your
YouTube on double speed. Both mainstream and independent content creators.
No. But what outlets do you get your news, the basics from? Or what you read to see?
So the only mainstream news outlet that I really follow, the only two mainstream outlets that I follow, is BBC Persian and Al Jazeera English. Those are the two mainstream ones that I follow. Followed on double speed. And I know they're biased and all. I take that into an account.
No, they all are.
Yeah. And then I love the only problem with the YouTube is that it doesn't have triple speed. Like, I don't know why doesn't it go higher? Like, I need to be able to go through these faster. I do watch a lot of analysis and commentary on them as well, from all sides, from right-leaning commentators and left-leaning commentators. But that's the only mainstream. I think, like, when something happens, if I do want to get more mainstream news on it, then I search for that topic and see what shows up. But other than Al Jazeera English and BBC Persian, and I think that most of the others are just analysis on them rather than direct news. What about you?
So for me, it's the main ones I go to are the New York Times, Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is sort of, I wouldn't say it's super conservative leaning, but it's a little bit that way. And then the New York Times, Washington Post. I mean, those are the three I actually subscribe to. The Economist, I go to quite a bit. I subscribe to that too, and I subscribe to the Atlantic just because the Atlantic has some, like, a lot of my favorite writers are on the Atlantic. And then, like, I also look at CNN, and then occasionally I do go and check out Breitbart and everything. I don't, not to get information, but just to see what people are talking about. I think that's kind of interesting. And yeah, but those are like the mainstream. I do I feel like I can trust the mainstream. I've written for some mainstream outlets, and I know how meticulous they are about their fact checking. So yeah, so I think I mainly go with that. But if you're talking about analysis and all of that, I like the Atlantic quite a bit, because they'll have somebody like John McWhorter, and then they're also going to have it's someone like who is it, Peter? I mean, I can't remember his name. Like sort of very, very left leaning people too.
All right, Ali, the questions are coming faster than our answers, so let's try to answer faster. And I know that I'm probably going to be guilty of not.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's just go with it the way it is.
All right, Blonde Infidel is here. Yay!
Yeah. Blonde Infidel is saying, can you comment on the unique challenges faced by ex-Muslim asylum seekers? Any thoughts on how this process could be improved? It's do you want to start, Armin? I have a couple of things to say here too. But
I don't really. I think that I think the process for improving asylum seekers for ex-Muslims is the same process that you need to improve just the asylum seeking process as a whole. Like, I don't know if there's any improvement that you can make to the process that is going to be uniquely just improving the ex-Muslim situation and not the asylum process for everyone. I just, what do you think?
Well, I think that there's one really major unique element, and I've heard this from a lot of asylum seekers, is that when you have, for example, oppressed Christians or Christians who are trying to seek asylum, or Christians who are minorities in Muslim majority countries trying to seek asylum in, say, the US or somewhere in Europe, then there is a lot of organization. There's a lot of funding from Christian organizations they have teams of lawyers, they have a lot of funds and everything that actually help, and they have resources to help these people. The same thing goes for any other sort of religious asylum seekers. When it comes to ex-Muslims, there is enough organization, even for atheists in general, persecuted atheists. There isn't really a big sort of church initiative or something like that could help them. And that's why I think what the most important lesson to be learned here, and one thing that we need to work on to answer the second part of your question, how could this be improved, is really organization. You talk about, okay, well, atheists should they organize, should they not organize? This is a reason that you should organize. This is the reason because we do need people, we do need lawyers, we do need attorneys who can help people like this in need and raise funds for them.
Okay. Yeah. So when I say the process itself, I'm talking about the people that are involved with the government agencies. If we're talking about activism and what we need to do, yes, we're filling a gap that doesn't, like the ex-Muslim movement, the atheist movement, they're filling a gap that is not being supplied. I agree with that, Ali. I was just mostly focusing on when it comes to what the governments need to do, or the people who are in charge of like going through these cases. I just think they just need more resources, and they don't need to focus on any case more than the other ones. But yes, when it comes to our role as activists, I mean, we just need to just be there. We just need to grow, and we need to somehow one day come even close to having the resources that the Muslims and the Christians and the Jews and the Hindus are having when it comes to them supporting their people. But again, that's also not unique when it comes to asylum. See, none of this is unique with asylum seeking, because when it comes to ex-Muslims and atheists being there for each other, we're lacking in everything, not just in the refugee situation, the asylum seeking situation, right? Christians are there for each other, Jews are there for each other, Hindus are there for each other. Atheists are not there for each other, right? I mean, this is not an ex-Muslim situation, because if somebody was an ex-Muslim Christian, okay, there would be people there for that person. It's the ex-Muslim atheists. It's the atheists who are missing support, not the ex-Muslim. Okay.
Well, the Spartacus guy that Harris Sultan was working on.
Let me just make this point. So when it comes to the asylum seeking process, you need more resources. Doesn't really matter about ex-Muslims. Okay. When it comes to ex-Muslim needing more support, it's not about being ex-Muslim. It's about being an atheist. Okay. If you're an ex-Muslim Christians, churches, communities, people will be there for you. They will brag about, oh, they stole you from Islam. Okay, atheists have this idea of, we don't want to create a community. That's what religions do. We don't want to become political. That's what religions do. We don't want to donate money to these institutions or these atheist organizations. That's what churches do. If I wanted to donate to some organization or community or blah blah blah, I would stay in churches. This is why there's atheists are so left behind. This is why, even though we're growing demographically, we're still being ruled by religion. This is why religious institutions and organizations and political party, even though they now represent a smaller percentage of people than compared to before, they're becoming more and more influential, with less people backing them all around the world, in the United States, in Israel, in Indonesia, in Malaysia. But this is an atheist problem. This is not an ex-Muslim problem. Okay,
exactly.
This is why so many ex-Muslims, like for example, coming out of Iran, so many ex-Muslims, when they pretend, even though they're ex-Muslim atheists, they pretend that they're ex-Muslim Christians to be able to get support from churches, to get food, to get support for the children, to get a community of people that look at their legal paperwork and support them. Okay, so this is not an ex-Muslim problem. This is an atheist problem. But go on.
Right. No, I mean, I was going to say exactly that. Just organize. We have to organize. We have to have just resource engines and support engines that are as ready as these hundreds of Christian charity organizations that help, Christian asylees. Okay, let's go on. Music Guy 20 is saying, what are your favorite video games or games? Oh my God, are you a video game player, Armin?
I used to play World of Warcraft a long time ago. Ali, your beard just keep hitting the microphone. A long time ago, I used to play World of Warcraft. I used to be a warrior. I used to be a tank. I was a very good tank. I used to be very popular in every raid because I used to get all the aggro to myself. All the priests and all the, they loved me because they never got any damage. Like if I was in your group, if you were a cloth wearer, you would never get any damage. I would take all the damage. Okay, so that was back then. But then I also I gave up on that. I also like Assassin's Creed, not because of, I'm not really into challenging myself in video games, and I like Assassin's Creed just because I wanted to tour around. It's beautiful. I just wanted to go back in time and enjoy the scenery. I love the scenery. I want them to someday start making video games that there's no missions. You don't need to do anything. You could just go to the market. You could go to the bazaar, back in ancient, like in Baghdad and during the Caliphate's time, and just buy something for your palace or something like that, right? That's what I enjoy, the scenery. That's the game I want. There's no mission, nothing. I just want to enjoy the scenery. That's what I love the Assassin's Creed for. I just went through the mission so that I just be able to open new worlds for me to explore, not because the missions were fun. But go on.
I actually really enjoyed that. You were talking about short answers, but I think that this is good. I actually like some of these longer answers. Yeah, I'm not a video game guy that much. I do like other games, board games and stuff. I'm sorry, I know that's boring, but just a classic ones. I really like Scrabble. I like that. Mainly just I like Scrabble. I'm a Scrabble player. I've been playing it since I was a kid. Jeremy Frank, have you guys read Ayaan Hirsi Ali's new book and or Mariam Namazi's criticism of it? Thoughts on either both?
I gave up on anything Ayaan Hirsi Ali related, to be honest. Ever since I read her last book. Ayaan Hirsi Ali doesn't understand Islam. The only thing I like I support Ayaan Hirsi Ali's fight against female genital mutilation. Go Ayaan on that. But she doesn't understand how anything about Islam. She has just some personal experiences which she can speak to. She doesn't understand the importance of data over anecdotes. And I don't think she's also a fear-mongering, unreliable source of information when it comes to. I wouldn't waste my time with her book. But go on, Ellie.
Yeah. So I actually disagree with you. not a whole lot, right? But more recently, like I think that Ayan Hirsi, I did like her last book. I defended it. I think that a lot of ideas she has are good. I think she does have a good grasp of what Islam's like. I think she's extremely intelligent. My only problem with her is that I don't know what it is. I don't know whether there's an emotionality aspect to it. I don't know whether it's anger towards like the liberals who didn't allow her in their fold, which is justifiable. I don't know what it is, but she has receded into an echo chamber. I mean, I don't think with infidel, everybody thought of her as a hero. Now she's kind of aligned herself with just this one echo chamber, and nobody really listens to her, takes her seriously beyond that echo chamber, and that's unfortunate. So she said a few really, really unfortunate things and taken some really unfortunate positions that have siloed her, right? So she just doesn't have a whole lot of credibility. I haven't read the book. I do have it, and we are going to have Maryam Namazi on next month, right, to talk about the new ex-Muslim women leaving Islam film, and also her review of Ayan Hirsi Ali's book. I tend to agree with Maryam Namazi on this. I feel like there's a lot that you can do for when it comes to women in Islam, and I think just making the whole thing about immigration and the predatory behavior of one group of people against another, like I think that it's overblown, as you said, anecdote over data.
Her last book that you said you like, are you talking about Heretic? That was the worst one.
No, I liked it.
No, that was that was like it was so obvious to me that she has no idea what she's talking about.
You were talking about the Reformation aspect, right? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no. There's the 5 suggestions she made about, like, anybody that understands even the basics of Islam could understand that she has no idea what she's talking about when it comes. Like she needs to study Islam before she criticizes it.
Mm-hmm. I didn't look at that as like having Muslims adopt those 5 rules. I mean, which I know kind of what she was saying, but I thought of like, especially the thing that she talked about, infallibility. I think we normalize the idea overall that infallibility is a type of.
Anyway, Ali, if you want to say that, then I have to respond to that, and I could go on for hours telling you why that book was ridiculous.
Okay,
but
let's go on. Let's move on.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Susanna had a good question. Oh, here.
Susanna's saying, what do you think of the memes about Democrats diversity bombing Syria? I haven't seen it, but what is this? Do you know about these memes? What are they?
Something like this, I think.
Diversity. Oh, so hold on. Let me figure this out. So this is Republicans. There's a plane here. And Republicans just have a nice clean plane with no labels on it, and it's dropping bombs on Syria. And then Democrats have a plane with a rainbow flag, Black Lives Matter, Yes We Can, and they're also bombing Syria.
But bombing in general. This meme is older than the Syria bombing recently, but I think they made a new one just like this one in response. Yeah. So your response?
I don't know. I mean, I think the U.S. Policy is. I mean, they both do things. There are some things that they agree on when it comes to foreign policy. A lot of stuff with Syria. Syria is a difficult thing. It's just it depends. Like, there's some people who are pacifists, right? Some people say you should never bomb anyone ever, never fight, never do any wars. There's no such thing as a just war ever, ever, ever. And if you're that kind of person, you're not going to appreciate anything. But over here, I've talked about being in support of drone strikes because they're more surgical and just more accurate than any other form of warfare, and they're necessary. If you have to do this to get rid of, if there's a few people that are going to die to prevent the deaths of like thousands of others, then you got to make a choice between bad and worse. Now, when you're writing an op-ed, you can have a very strong moral position against this. When you're in a position of leadership and you actually have to make the decision that, 10,000 people die, or, I take the risk of an extra person or two being killed, then you got to make that call. You have to make that call. What are you going to do? And I think I don't like it. It's a decision between bad and worse, but So I think Republicans have been good on foreign policy in a lot of ways, and Democrats have been good on foreign policy in a lot of ways in the Middle East. It's a tough thing. Syria is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. You intervene.
All right, so I don't know if you know what's happened in Syria then, because this was in response to what
the Biden strikes. Oh, I'm talking more generally, but yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to be more specific now. So what happened is that Biden responded to Iranian proxies' attack on U.S. interests
Right.
in Iraq, in Kurdistan, Iraq. And if you think something like that should go unanswered, you have no idea how anything works. Like, there is intervention, and then there's intervention. Like, we here criticize a lot of US interventions and a lot of bombings that are unjustified and uncalled for, but it's very simplistic if you think that just because most of US I would say most of US ever since World War II, most of US intervention has could be criticized in so many different ways, and a lot of them are genuine, like war crimes, by United States. But the response to that is not like, okay, that means no intervention. Okay, no intervention is a simplistic and ridiculous response. This is it's easy to take that position given how bad, how vile and disgusting United States war crimes has been around the world. Okay, it's easy to take that position to say, like, think black and white, but like, given how many war crimes United States has committed around, that means that no military, no intervention, nothing. Okay, you wouldn't have that view. Like, the idea of never again, don't sit behind when people are committing, like, what do you want? What do you think is the responsibility of the international community when war crimes are being committed by other nations? Do you think they should just sit back? There are wrong ways to respond to this, but there are also right ways to respond to this. There are right ways, like with the international community, as not just one country going it, but you also have to defend yourself. You also have to. It's ridiculous for you to think that a country like Iran took an action against your interests, your citizens. Your citizens were injured in an attack by Iran, and you think the United States government should just be like, "Oh yeah, we're not going to respond to that"? Like, that is ridiculous. By the way, I'm not disagreeing with this meme. Okay, I'm pretty sure Democrats are going to do some things that will make this meme very relevant at that point, right? The Democrats will do things that makes this meme relevant, and I'm going to be like, yep, this is what this meme is happening right now. The bombing in Syria is not that. The bombing in Syria was a very mild reaction to an attack by Iranian proxies against United States citizens.
What's this meme saying, though? What's the point?
Oh, this meme is saying that Republicans and Democrats are the same. Democrats are basically just do virtue signaling while they commit the same human rights violations outside of their borders. You claim to care about black and brown people while you kill black and, like, with Republicans, they kill black and brown people, but Democrats, they kill black and brown people while pretending like Black Lives Matter, and they do virtue signaling. Like,
virtual signaling is everywhere. I mean, Republicans are always talking about pro-life this and pro-life that, and Jesus, and it's just everybody's virtue signaling. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay. All right, where were we? I think I lost it.
There's a question about.
Wait. I'll find. Give me a second.
Choose anything in the meantime.
Okay, Suraya is saying, "Can I ask you a shameless question?" Yes.
The easy answer, yes.
Easy answer. I think this is where we were. That's where we were. There we go. What do you think?
Matthew Nidiffer is saying, what do you think about the Nation of Islam?
It's ridiculous. Anti-Semitic. Ridiculous, anti-Semitic, shouldn't be a thing.
You're racist, supremacists. Right. I mean, the Nation of Islam, like the thing is that we're talking about Louis Farrakhan is the leader of it. I mean, if you're talking about that, there are a lot of people who align with the Nation of Islam who I think are perfectly okay people. I don't think there's any issues, but hold on, overall, the Nation of Islam, what it stands for, is really no different than any other sort of supremacist and racist, bigoted organization.
Okay, music guy is saying I was supposed to say Susanna. Okay, Susanna has an influence on my attitudes and my tour things, but philosophy. I think I have had more of an influence on Susanna. Susanna's influence on me has been the way emotionally I treat things and being calmer, being more passionate in different things. That's how Susanna has influenced me when it comes to yeah. So
right.
Cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
next question. So Bulbul, hey Ali, I loved your takedown of Kangana Ranaut. Just had to say it again. Yeah, so I can't. I think this happened a couple of times. She tends to be very in tune with the kind of things that we're saying. First of all, I gotta say, Kangana Ranaut, I came across her with the movie Queen, which I think is one of the best Indian movies I've ever seen, ever. Absolutely loved it. Amit Trivedi's soundtrack was phenomenal. I still sing the songs all the time, and I just think she's a very, very talented actress. It's aside from that, in real life, I think she's great when she's acting and playing characters. When she goes back into her normal role, she's a nut job. That's all. But yeah, thank you.
By the way,
I think I'm not the only one. So
yeah. Okay.
So D Boudreau is saying, what are your thoughts on the Myanmar protests? Will they get anywhere, or after military abuses, will they just die out? Armin, what do you think?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been.
I mean, I've been following. I have been following it, but I still don't have an answer.
Yeah, no, I've been following it, but not very, very closely. And I don't know. It's just the way things have gone there before. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, let's move on.
Bobo is saying, why do you guys cap your episodes at 1 hour now? I really enjoyed your longer episode. Well, because most people are not like you, Bobo. Most people consume their episodes when they're 1 hour only.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Okay, hold on. There we go.
Okay, so Joshua is saying, maybe this has been asked before, but what do you think about Majid Nawaz's recent concerning views? Oh my God. Where do we start? Arguing against lockdowns and promoting U.S. election conspiracy theories.
All right, me and Susanna have been covering this for a long time. So I'll let you answer that while I go to washroom. Be right back.
Oh, okay. So, oh my God. Okay, put me on the spot. So, Majid is a friend. I like him, all of that obligatory stuff. Completely disagree with him on this. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if he's sort of doing, when you're a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian, and the devil's advocacy thing, you just have to be a devil's advocate for everything, and you take it to fetishistic levels. So I feel like that's happening with a lot of people. I think that that's kind of happening with Majid Nawaz too. I think that he cares very deeply about the Uyghur genocide, and as he should, and as all of us should. He went on the hunger strike to protest it, and I think that triggered his antipathy towards all of the stuff with Hunter Biden and their relationship with China, and I feel like he's kind of looking at everything through that lens, and that kind of bleeds into every issue. So this is one problem. I think the issue is that when you take one issue like the Uyghur genocide and you start looking at everything through that lens, whether it's coronavirus policy, lockdown policy, whether it's the Hunter Biden thing, or whether the U.S. elections were stolen or not, all these things, it becomes a problem. It kind of taints everything. That's my view on it.
Okay.
Then he's saying, continuing from the previous comments, since you've talked to Majid, do you think he genuinely believes these things, or is he pandering to his right-wing followers? Majid is a sincere guy, as far as I know. Like, I think that he, if he says something, that he does believe it. There is, of course, whenever you're running an organization, like if you have, like the Pulliam thing, where there's certain, and this is the same thing that applies to Ayaan Hirsi Ali. It's you do have donors, you have certain people and certain things that you have to stick to, but and assuming that they all do that to some extent. Unfortunately, in my experience, I've seen that most people with these sort of nonprofit organizations tend to do that. But Majid has always kind of struck me as a sincere kind of guy. Like he believes in his, at least in the way
he believes the nonsense that he's spewing.
Yeah, he believes that he believes in his approach, and that sincerely is the right approach. I don't know if he believes the actual contents of the approach all the time. So
yeah. He's genuinely a moron. He's not lying.
I'm not going to call him that.
Right.
I'm not going to call him that.
All right.
Yeah. Mota alu. I love this. Mota alu means fat potato. It's great. Oh, sorry. I mean horizontally challenged potato, not fat. I didn't mean to say fat. Anyway, he's saying, do you guys like superhero movies? Who's your favorite superhero? Oh, good question, Armin.
Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with video games. I like the scenery. I watch superhero movies mostly not because of the action, but because of the background scenery, right? And for that reason, I love Thor, and I hate it every time he leaves Valhalla. Like, I want them to I wish he just stayed in Valhalla. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. Actually, never mind. I do like Doctor Strange a little bit too. But yeah, I usually like it. Whenever in the superhero movies they come and they walk in the streets on Earth and stuff like that, I like why this like whenever they go into another realm or to another dimension or to the planet or something like that. I always really enjoy the scenery. Like, so whatever excuses they could find, like. I know people like they like these superheroes, so that's why they're funding these movies. So I want them to continue funding these movies because that's the only way I get to appreciate background sceneries like that, right? So I watch them for the scenery mostly. But go on.
So I haven't actually watched any of them, so I wanted to know, and I'm thinking like maybe I should. I think there's an order of all the movies and the chronological order that has. So Armin, you tell me that when we're offline, I'll actually start watching them because I'm curious. The other thing is the ones that I did watch. I watched Deadpool 1 and 2, and I love them. Right, so I'm gonna go with
that's really you're right. That's really
mine.
That's your kind of humor. Yeah,
that's my thing. So I love Deadpool and Deadpool 2, like both of those. I mean, they're just awesome. Ryan Reynolds was just killer in both of them. Motalu saying, "Secular Jihadists, I read your book. It's awesome. Thank you very much. Super appreciated."
Yeah,
both, I don't know which book you're talking about, but both, like I consider both of them. We'll take it. Kenji, the potato enthusiast. A lot of potato stuff here today. I mean, that's good. That's refreshing. Ali, I enjoyed the part of your book where you criticize the Quran's embryology verses. Have you ever brought up these criticisms with a Muslim? And if so, what was their response? Yes. So I have done talks on this. And I actually did one for the Muslimish conference in the Arab American National Museum in Detroit, right? In Dearborn, actually, the largest Muslim population outside of the Arab world. And it was a very interesting exchange. I think there is video for it. I think we've had it up on Secular Jihadists. It's there somewhere. It's called, I think, The Science and Islam, or Religion and Science, or something like that. And it's I did talk about it, and there were people who were evolutionary biologists or experts on evolution who were Muslim who also did talks, and I had an interesting exchange with them. I think one of them was making the point that evolution is such a beautiful process. It's amazing. It's incredible. How could it just happen on its own? Something must have created it. And one of my main responses to that was that it's a terrible process. It's a very sophisticated process, but it's evil. It's sadistic, right? It's life basically preying on other life to survive. People, you have to kill living things for your own survival. I mean, that's the whole basis of evolution. And we talked about the embryology verses as well. So it always results in an interesting exchange. And because I do have a medical background, I know a lot about embryology. I think that helps the argument as well. But if you do have anybody who wants to actually discuss this further, I would be happy to do more debates and discussions on this topic. Because the embryology stuff in the Quran is wrong, I have to say. It's wrong. A lot of it. D. Boudreau. Whose book sold more copies? Why There Is No God? Armin's, that's your book, or The Atheist Muslim, which is mine. Just curious. I think it was Armin's.
I hate to brag, but I don't think it was mine. It's definitely mine.
It's definitely
but
yours.
it's an unfair comparison, is because I did the smart thing and I went through publishing it ourselves rather than going through a traditional publisher. I mean, you could tell by the number of reviews here. But
Yeah, people review it more too.
But look, let me show you why this is unfair comparison, right? So if you look at my book, Why There Is No God, it has 1,800 ratings, and Ali's has 171 rating. But look at the prices, right? Ali's book, hold on. Right. Ali's book, like the Kindle, is $13. My book, the Kindle, is $2.99. You can't get a price like this if you go with a traditional publisher. So it's not a fair comparison because my book is a lot cheaper, right? So definitely not a fair comparison. But yeah.
So and there's
by the way,
they're both like I push both of them pretty much equally. So
by the way, we have been giving out my book for free on Atheist Republic. If you go to Atheist Republic's YouTube channel, if you subscribe to Atheist Republic's newsletter, you get my book for free, the PDF version. So go and subscribe. And again, this is another thing you can't do if you go with the traditional publisher. The traditional publisher doesn't let you hand out your book out for free, right? Because you don't own your book anymore.
Right. And I just have to say that if any of you, if you send me a private message anywhere, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere, and you ask me for my book for free, I'm like, I am not just going to send you a PDF. I'm not. Just wanted everybody to know.
Ali, be careful. We can't say something that is like, I don't know.
What? I just said I'm not going to do it.
Okay. All right.
What? Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know if we just committed something illegal or not. I don't know. All right, here.
Something illegal. Yeah. Okay. What do you think of the UK Supreme Court refusing entry to Shamima Begum to contest her citizenship? Right.
I don't know about this.
I'll tell you. It's actually a pretty simple story. I mean, she was a teenager. She went off to Syria to fight with ISIS many years ago, and she's a UK citizen. And then she wants to come back. She's saying, I screwed up, whatever. I want to come back to the UK. And then I think a conservative MP, Sajid Javid, he said, "No, we're just going to take your British nationality away. You're not a British citizen anymore." And so that's become controversial. That can you do that? I mean, she's a teenager when she went. Now she wants to come back and she wants to contest this. She wants to fight for her citizenship. And the Supreme Court in the UK has decided not to let her back in to even contest it. I disagree with the decision. I think that if you're a citizen of something.
Oh wait, that's what we're talking about. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. It's a dumb. I remember her now. Yeah, that was so stupid. Great job, UK. You protected your citizens by devaluing what it means to be a UK citizen. Yay! Right. This one person that was not. If she came to the UK, you could have just arrested her and put her in jail, and she wouldn't have been a security threat to anybody. She wouldn't have been a security threat. Like, oh wow, you protected all the UK citizens. By somebody that would have had no chance to be a harm to anybody ever. In fact, you could have studied her to see how she was radicalized and try to prevent it happening again in the UK. And just you protected UK citizens by devaluing what it means to be a UK citizen. Great job.
There's another
really throwing out 1,000 babies out with the bathwater. But
there's another problematic aspect of this. Okay. I'm going to say this. I think, Armin, you're going to totally. I have a feeling you're going to agree with me. Excuse me. Shamima Begum was actually born in the UK, so she's a UK-born British citizen. Okay, so she's born there, and they revoked her British citizenship. Her parents are from Bangladesh and so on. Now, if you have someone who is not of Bangladeshi origin, or who's white and goes off to fight or commits treason or something like that, they don't lose their citizenship. I'm just saying this. It's like they don't lose their citizenship. And she is. This is kind of there's a two-tiered system that they're doing here, where because she has a Bangladeshi origin, even if she's born in the UK, you can take her citizenship away. But this is just not. I mean, there's a lot of non-brown people who commit.
Rapid fast, please.
Yeah, like white people born in the UK who commit like egregious crimes, and their citizenship doesn't come into question. Just doesn't happen. Okay, just overall. Speaking the Mind is saying, give up the politics, Navabi. It's not your cup of tea. Oh my gosh, Speaking the Mind, you are completely wrong. I think considering what goes for, we are living in a world where there are Ben Shapiro's out there doing political analysis. Okay, there are Jordan Petersons who are going around and doing their takes on things. I mean, these are the intellectuals of our time. So we actually really need Armin Navabi's voice, and whether we agree with him or not. Okay, like Armin Navabi, you can read all the stuff you want about Iran, but this guy has people that he's in touch with in Iran. He's got a pulse on what's happening in that country more so than anybody else. And when you see polls come out of there, like what was that new poll that came out of the religion? It turns out that everything that he's been talking about, his hunches, have been borne out by the data. So I think that it would be a mistake to ignore Armin Navabi's political acumen, even though there's a lot of other things about him you can't ignore.
Let me be honest here, okay? I follow a lot of analysis and commentators all over the internet, okay? I haven't yet found somebody that is better than me. Not yet. So this is like so far off. I have not yet found any single person that even comes close to how nuanced and advanced my analysis is. Not on Iran, on almost everything. Okay,
and I haven't found anybody who's more humble than you either. Actually,
no, I am definitely not humble, and I'm proud of that. Yes,
nobody more modest than Armin. When it Christ. Okay, Mir Jalal is saying, hey, cockiness is hot to some people, because how do you counter the argument that being harsh on Saudis will give rise to fundamentalist Shias in Yemen, just like being anti-Assad is helping Sunni radicals? Please help.
How do you counter the argument that being harsh on Saudis will give rise to fundamentalists?
So there's people who are saying that don't be too harsh on Saudis, because then there'll be too many fundamentalist Shias in Yemen.
Maybe slap them in the face. Okay, so here's no violence. I'm just kidding. The rise of fundamentalist Shias in Yemen is happening because of Saudis, is being fueled by Saudis' war on Yemen. Like this is why there's fundamentalist Shias in Yemen don't want peace. Every time there's any push for peace, the Houthis keep poking at Saudi Arabia, like, please no, we like all the money and all the resources and everything that is coming from Iran to us. Like, let's not end this. Okay, so we sympathize with the Yemeni civilians, and we think the major criminal in this war is the Saudi government. But please don't think that means that we're on the Houthi side at all. The Houthi authorities are garbage, vile, disgusting human beings, and they should not be supported in any way. But their main support is coming from their enemy. They're getting all the excuses for their control, for their support by Iran because of the war in Yemen. Like, everything that the Saudi government has done against them has ended up being in their favor. So I don't know what they're talking about, right? The Saudi government has not been able to, this is more than just. People think these movements will die out because of them being militarily, like, bombing. You can't destroy these ideas, these movements, by bombing them, right? In fact, you're fueling them, right? So so it's completely ridiculous. If you want the Houthi fundamentalist, Shia movement to die, maybe like end the war, right? That's going to be very helpful. And this is something definitely that the Saudi government is not doing. You have to be like I can't find any. The only time that I would ever think that it would be justified to support the Saudi government is only right now is in defense of in hostilities against Iran's government. Okay, I think it makes strategic and political sense, for example, for the U.S. government to protect Saudi soil, not Yemen, not going in Yemen and supporting attacking the Houthis, but any attack against Saudi oil by the Iranian proxies need a response. That's the only time that I think. But you should also be aggressively against Saudi government because of all the crap they're doing as well at the same time. These two positions are not contradictory. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay.
Was that? Oh, you did.
No, that's fine. The next.
This
D.
is
Boudreau is saying, yes, Armin, the strikes were against a group that drilled holes into the heads of Sunni minority in Iraq and claimed responsibility for a roadside bomb of the UN food program truck.
okay. That's not a question. That's a comment. So
Mhm.
here we go.
Nusantara Rising is saying, Ali, if I want to understand Pakistani politics and travel there, should I learn Urdu or Punjabi? Also related, but do you see Pakistan ever collapsing into its constituent parts? That's a good question. I don't really know the answer to the second part. The first one, I would probably say learn Urdu. Punjabi is restricted to one of the, I mean, it's the largest province in Pakistan, but it's one of the provinces. But there are a lot of sort of, especially if you want to understand Pakistani politics, there are a lot of other provinces that are not Punjabi, like, the three other ones, like Sindh and Balochistan, which is a political hot potato. Potato is the theme, like in this podcast right now. And then the north and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is where all the Pashtun people are, borders Afghanistan. So so Urdu would probably be better. As far as Pakistan collapsing into its constituent parts, I kind of do see that happening. I mean, there are separatist movements in pretty much all of them. The only thing is it's going to be a tough situation because Sindh is a province and it has one of the biggest ports in that region overall, seaports. Without Sindh, without Karachi, that main city, the whole country, a lot of the northern areas get landlocked and they're surrounded by enemies. I mean, it's a very difficult thing. They're going to put up a huge fight for it. But there are sort of strong and growing separatist movements happening in general in the country. We could probably have another episode on this and bring on someone to talk about it at some point.
I want to say something that might trigger some people, but this is just a suggestion. Okay. It's just a suggestion. Don't lose your mind. Don't learn any language. It's a waste of time unless you really enjoy learning languages. If you're doing, unless you're doing it for entertainment, don't waste your time learning any languages. Especially given the fact, I think that pretty soon we're going to have AI doing seamless translation between languages. That's very soon. So if you spend years mastering a language, all of that time is going to go to waste. Given that AI is going to take care of that for us soon. This is a suggestion, okay? Okay.
Unless you enjoy it, as you said.
I said unless you enjoy
but I mean, it doesn't. I think it's also about which language. Like people always want to learn French. Like, why would you want to learn French? I mean, I don't. I feel like that's kind of useless. We want to learn something. Learn Mandarin, learn Spanish, learn Arabic. Like, that's going to actually get you a lot further in life. Okay, next question. Shiva Das is saying, are you familiar with Vandana Shiva's work? No. She is an activist and a scientist from India who focuses on opposition to globalization and the use of genetically modified crops. Genetically modified crops are, if you're opposing genetically modified crops, I don't think you understand.
What the hell?
The genetically modified. I mean, they're the reason.
And globalization. By the way, let me be clear. A lot of people think that this is a smear against me. I'm a proud globalist. Ali, you're a globalist, right?
Yeah, I mean, more than the alternative.
Yeah,
it's got its issues, but yes.
Yes.
So now, and here's the thing. Like I got to talk about this genetically modified crops thing just for a second. There's a man called Norman Borlaug. Okay, he's called the grandfather of genetically modified crops. He's a Nobel Prize winner, and he's credited with saving over 1 billion lives. Look him up, right. Norman Borlaug. Why? Because he was able to do genetically modified crops. When I was growing up in the 80s, there were famines. There were hunger famines and droughts in Ethiopia and Sudan and places in Africa, all over the world. You don't have that kind of hunger, that regional hunger and famine thing happening in the world, unless you have something like Yemen, where people they're bombing kids and they're restricting. Human beings are doing it, but it doesn't happen at a natural level because of genetically modified crops. Like
Yeah,
this is it has all but solved the world hunger problem.
I can't think of better things. Like there are not that many better things than
Right.
genetically modified
If you've
food.
ever had
It is like one of the best things that has ever happened to humanity.
yeah, if there is if you've ever eaten a banana, like human beings invented the banana, the seedless banana. Like that's a human invention. It did not occur naturally. That happened with genetic modification over time. And this is a whole idea. I don't think people understand what genetic modification is. They have all kinds of
They're mostly talking about the new industrial version of it, not the time like not yeah. I mean, people have been doing GMOs since the first time they found wheat. Like yeah, but I think they're talking about like now. They're like, oh, not that. We're talking about like the modern advanced version of it. But yeah, that's even better. Okay,
yeah, like
that's
if
fantastic.
you take this is an example. If you take like a crop that could feed a lot of people, like
Right.
corn or rice or whatever, and then you take genes from
Yes.
species like certain weeds or certain plants that can survive under extreme pressure and very low amounts of oxygen, right? And you give other crops those kinds of capabilities, then you can grow entire fields of crops in
Yes.
arid land in Africa that you never could before. I mean, that is a miracle. And that's
Yeah,
something we should all be thankful.
I'm pro GMO because I'm anti-starvation.
Yeah,
It's a very brave, unique take of mine. I'm
yeah,
anti-starvation.
yeah.
Anyways, let's go to this.
All right. So, Secular Jihadist, if you went back on Joe Rogan's show, would you confront him if he was spouting dumb shit? Um,
Thank you for not swearing, Ellie. You can.
I was reading the question.
Oh yeah, YouTube algorithm is gonna be like, oh okay, he was reading the question, so
Yeah,
let's
like
not look at the
okay,
algorithm.
I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
not operate. I have a hard enough time even
Yeah.
following my notifications on Twitter and seeing who's
Okay.
trying to cancel me. So I
All
don't.
right.
Yeah, this
All
is
right.
not
Just
okay.
answer. Just answer.
Okay, but if you went back, I guess that applies to me because I was on Rogan's show before. I don't. Rogan's not like that. He says things that you may think are misinformed, and he's very receptive to the answers. He just is. I mean, when I was on his show, he was talking about drones. He's very against drone strikes, and we had a whole conversation on it. I told him the complications around the whole drone thing, and I just told him my point of view, and there's lots of people who disagree on it. We had a good conversation about it. We completely disagree on it. So I think that's the same kind of approach that I would use with anybody, not just Rogan.
All right. So here.
Okay, quit wasting time. They're saying. What are the best policies the EU should implement with regards to Islamic extremism?
Okay, first of all, is Islamic extremism is not what you have to worry about. Okay, Islam as a whole is a problem, and religion also. It's like okay. So here's the thing. I think a lot of people are missing the main cost of Islam. It's not like the attacks here and there that happens is less that is becoming less and less and less. Right? Islam is hurting not just Europe but the world in different ways than these attacks that keeps capturing your attention in the news. Right? I'm not saying it's not harmful. It is extremely harmful, but you need to worry about those other ways that Islam is ruining Europe and the rest of the world more than these attacks. I think like when it comes to the attacks, if you're talking about if that's what you're referring to when it comes to Islamic extremism, just having better intelligence and more security and stuff like that. But when it comes to not letting your society being taken over by a certain ideology, then I think the answer is not less immigration. The answer is tougher screening based on values, and the answer is also being more accepting and friendly towards people from certain demographics, so that they feel you're not pushing them into accepting the values of a certain of the country, secular values, enlightenment country. You're inviting them. Like, it's more of a friendly, inviting nature rather than a push, assimilate or like be removed kind of attitude, right? So I think it's more of a carrot approach rather than a stick approach for the people that are already there. I suggest, right? So I always tell people the best way to fight Islam is to befriend Muslims. um, and I think like creating an environment where it's more welcoming and more friendly to these people, and making them feel like, if you're like a French Muslim, if you feel like you're French, rather than like because for a lot of like UK Muslims don't even feel like they're a citizen of UK. A lot of French Muslims don't even feel like they're a citizen of French. They feel like a second class citizen. That needs, if you want people to adopt the secular values of your country, maybe make them feel like they belong there first. Don't demonize them. Don't, uh, don't target them. Don't make them feel like they're, again, not welcome, right? Talk to them, make sure that they're not segregated in their own communities, in their own schools, in their own kindergartens. Like, there's not a separate part of the city that they go shop. Like, find ways for them to make sense. If you look at, for example, Muslims in Canada and United States, that's much less of an issue compared to the Muslims in Europe. That's partly because they're more segregated in Europe, but to be fair to Europe, it's also because it's really hard to have a tougher screening process compared to, I don't know, United States, Canada, and Europe. So United States, Canada, and Australia, given that they have oceans between them and Middle Eastern countries. Like, we could be like, oh, look, Canada, yes, look at the very sophisticated screening process, and they're letting Muslims in, but they're not causing that much of a problem. Well, because they have a very tough screening process based on skills. Like, yay, Canada, good job. I mean, it's easy to do that when you don't have people coming on boats and trucks on your borders, right? Like, it's really hard for you to take a boat and come all the way to the shores of Canada, right? So it's easy for us to congratulate Canada over that. And Europe also, it doesn't have a problem just with like Muslim countries. It's also like coming a lot from Africa as well. I mean, you have people, it's really easy to get on a boat and then make it. Europe doesn't have the resources to deal with all of that screening, so yeah, it's a tough position. But I do think, like, go on, Ali, you want to say something?
No, I actually agree with everything that you're saying. It's amazing. I mean, we haven't disagreed for a very long time. But I have to quote one thing that this June 6, 2017, Theresa May, former Prime Minister of the UK, said, quote, "I'm clear. If human rights laws get in the way of tackling extremism and terrorism, we will change those laws to keep British people safe," end quote. So she's saying she would change their human rights laws to try and tackle extremism and terrorism. And that is exactly what they want. I mean, the people who are sitting in these caves and, wherever they are in Syria or Afghanistan, whatever, they're looking at this and they're like, well, can we get them to become more like us? Can we get them to compromise their civil liberties and start, becoming more xenophobic and more tribal and start like valuing their sort of historical ancestral heritage over these foreigners? And because that is what they do. Right? So you turn against them if you're turning into them. If you're turning into them, you're not winning, they're winning. Right? These are the things that what makes your civilization yours is these Enlightenment values. And if you start compromising on them, you ultimately become no different than they
are. Yeah, the human rights is what's protecting you, dumbass.
Right. Just one of the stupidest quotes I've ever seen from the head of state. Okay, let's go on. Do you think Kurt Cobain was murdered? No, Stoney, he wasn't murdered. Like he was. If you'd follow him, Kurt Cobain is a singer of Nirvana. Armin, don't worry, let me handle this one.
Oh, okay.
He was it wasn't a surprise what happened. He was dealing with this stuff for a very long time. He'd been writing about it. He'd been singing about it. It was not a surprise. He wasn't like it's. Of course, is there a small chance he could have been murdered? Yes, but it's just most likely that he wasn't. T. Budaman is saying, Armin, your book isn't available in Kindle version in Indonesia. I wonder if you have any control in this. It is available in paperback, which I already bought an audiobook.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that. I'll ask Susanna. Susanna has been very good at putting everything Atheist Republic related in order. So I'll ask her if she could take a look. By the way, yes. Thank you, Susanna. It's shout out to Susanna for taking care of all of these stuff. So I'll let her know. I think she's already listening, so she knows now. Yeah. So we'll look into that. Thank you.
And for everybody who's in Indonesia, I'll just say that my book is actually there in like PDF form. There's an unofficial translation. It's a very good translation, but apparently it's out there. People have sent that to me quite a bit. Okay,
this is not true.
Shuva Das is saying Navabi drinks coffee, not tea.
I drink a lot of green tea. I drink green tea a lot.
You don't, but do you drink coffee? Are you a coffee guy at all?
I do drink coffee for the taste, not because of the caffeine.
Okay. Yeah. Decaf.
No, I do drink coffee, regular coffee. Okay. But it doesn't seem to have an influence on me. It's weird.
Yeah, me neither. Well, it makes me jittery. Kenji is saying, how should closeted ex-Muslims go about marriage? Should ex-Muslims try to find each other, which would be logistically very difficult?
Wait, why would you marry somebody for being an ex-Muslim? Oh, like, is this like
shared values? I mean, like, when you marry somebody, it's good if they're like they share the same kind of thing, especially if you're planning to raise kids. I actually think that you should online. I mean, you've got the internet, the same way that ex-Muslims have been able to organize. There are places like that where you can find people. Maybe they should have an ex-Muslim sort of dating service, or
really limits your options.
It does limit it, but if you're looking at it. It's not like you're restricted to it, but
I'm more in favor of increasing your options rather than limiting them. Less rules. Less rules.
Convert.
I like less rules. So if you're an ex-Muslim and you're like, I want an ex-Muslim girlfriend or ex-Muslim boyfriend. I mean, if you really want that, then okay. But why limit yourself? Like, there's so many people like you could choose from, and then you're like, I'm gonna like only focus on this. Like, you might be missing out on a lot.
Yeah, I think there are only two of the people in my entire life who I was dated to or married or whatever who were ex-Muslim. Aside from that, nobody was. Stony Lonesome is asking, how much of a worthwhile endeavor do you think space exploration is? Also, what do you think of the robot on Mars?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm so in favor of space exploration.
Yeah, So Sonny, Armin, I gotta say this really important thing here. When you explore nature for the sake of exploring nature, the rest of it falls into place. When Faraday was screwing around with wire and magnets, copper wire and magnets and stuff he wasn't thinking of making cars or the electric motor. He was just messing around. When they took like silicon and they made like silicon chips. They weren't doing this. A lot of what NASA did, right? A lot of technologies that we have right now, right, from microwaves and everything else, they just came from applications of people who are just curiously exploring things, right? So it is always worthwhile. It's probably more worthwhile than anything. People are like, well, we've got so many problems in the world. Yeah, work on the problems in the world, but this is just as important, if not more. I'm sorry. Because when it comes to long-term solutions for the world, ultimately, space exploration is going to be where it's at. It has to be. Top priority. Mir Jalal is saying, you guys should do updated episodes on major issues. There have been many geopolitical updates since you last did them, like Israel, Palestine, refugees crisis, Syria, Yemen. We actually have been doing that this month, Mir. And so just a shout out to people who are listening to this on audio and who are not patrons. Do go on patreon.com/sjme, sign up. For as little as $1 a month, you can watch all the episodes live. They will become publicly free, the audio parts of it, but you can actually ask questions and get involved the way that you guys are doing here. Okay, so do consider that this month, like I said before, we have done episodes on Iran, on Saudi Arabia, on Iran, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, right? And we're going to continue. We have done one on also criticizing Israel and whether that's anti-Semitic or not. We are going to be doing one on women, right? In Muslim countries who are leaving, or women from the Muslim world who are leaving Islam. We're going to have Maryam Namazi on for that. So we will be actually covering a lot of this stuff, right? I think geopolitics, generally international politics, has not been given the attention it needed during the Trump years, and there is a lot to talk about and a lot of things to deal with. Namir Jalal is also saying that you guys should do recommendations at the end of each Q&A episode, something you found interesting, book, video, movie, article. That's great. That's a great idea. Maybe you should do that, Armin. Like at the end of it, maybe choose one thing, a book or a movie or something that really impacted you this month, influenced you, and put it out there. Let's do that at the end of this one too.
Okay, sounds good.
Are we going like 15 more minutes, I think?
Yeah, sure.
Or 20 more minutes. 20 more minutes, yeah, until
20 more.
Majid is asking, do you guys smoke weed? Armin?
If I do edibles, I don't smoke anything. I wouldn't even smoke lettuce. I'm not in favor of burning things and putting it in your lungs.
Unless
if you wanted
to,
no, not even a Quran.
Okay.
Whenever I did, I don't know the things I can. I tried other things that I enjoyed more than weed. Okay, I did try weed, but edibles, and for a decade they had no influence on me, and I tried everything, and then for some reason one day they decided to have a lot of influence on me, and I did not enjoy it at all. I did enjoy some things that I tried with other ex-Muslims in Amsterdam.
I remember that.
Yeah, those were like really, okay, this is interesting. I like that. But weed, the impact of weed on me, I was like, why is I didn't like it. But I did enjoy weed before it had an impact on me, by the way, when the edibles. Okay, so it is very weird because for 10 years I tried vaping, eating, people were like getting baked over half a cookie, and I was on my 6th cookie and I was experiencing nothing, but I liked the smell and the taste of it so much that I kept on eating them. And people were like, why are you, if it's not making you high, stop wasting them, like leave us for the rest of us. But I just enjoy, my mouth is weird. I just enjoyed the smell and taste of it. It was so good. And now that I actually get high on it, it's ruined because I can't enjoy it as much as I used to enjoy it when I didn't get high off of it. Because now I can't have like 6 sweet cookies anymore. But anyways,
yeah. I do like burning things and setting them into my lungs. I don't smoke that often. My brain's a little weird, always wired and going off on tangents and everything as it is. So weed just kind of intensifies that. So there are rare occasions, not rare, but there are a few occasions when I will smoke weed. But most of the time, not as much as I used to. Dirty Dancer is saying, what did Armin think of the executions in Iran when he was still religious? Ooh, interesting question.
Oh, it was hard. Of course, I always thought they were horrible. And the way they do it is even worse in Iran. In Iran, the executions are worse than Saudi Arabia, if you can't believe that, right? In Saudi Arabia, here's one weird version when Iran's government is even worse than Islam, if you can't believe that, right? Saudi Arabia does executions the Islamic way. Iran, for some reason, does it the non-Islamic, more barbaric than Islam, if you can't imagine, okay? Because in Saudi Arabia, when they do executions, they chop your head off, and they have trained people who do it in one cut, so it's not like you basically feel no pain. But please don't think that I'm endorsing this. I'm anti-beheading people. Let's just make that clear, okay? But that is far better if you could say that. I don't know if people are going to take this out of context. That is far less vile, which is still vile and disgusting and horrible in every way, but much less than what happens in Iran, which they hang you, but not the way that they did it in the Wild Wild West in the United States, when they like drop, like, okay, so the way other people hang is they put the rope around your neck, they open the door behind your feet, and you drop, and your neck breaks, and then you're done. Okay, that's not how they do it in Iran. They put the rope around your neck, and they lift you. They lift you. Your neck doesn't break. So there are so many gay people, for example, that were hanged like this, and they chewed their own tongue out from pain and from the pressure while they were being hanged. They chewed their own tongues out. And I'm not saying that figuratively. Like, they actually genuinely just chewed it out. That's how bad and violent and disgusting this is.
Yeah.
And this is not something even that they teach in Islam. This is what was worse than Islam. Anyways, I'm done.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so Shivadas is saying, this is more of an abstract question. When things in life are not going as you would like them to, which probably is the case, is the case a lot of the time, what gives you hope or positivity? Yeah, that's a great question. Armin, do you want to go first, or?
It's easier for me to deal with this now because most horrible things that happened to me in my life ended up in the long term putting me in a position that it was preferable to what it was before. Not all of them, but most of them. Right? So, like, things happened to me that at the time it seemed like, holy, this is hell. Like, this is hell. But then what happened because of it after made me grateful that they happened, right? Because I was like, ended up in a situation where, like, damn, I'm so glad that thing that I thought was horrible at the time happened. And now I'm in a position that is so much superior to how it was before it, right? So because most of the things that happened to me that were horrible in life ended up putting me in a better position in the long term, next time something horrible happens to me, it just gives me some perspective of like, okay, this might seem really bad right now, okay, but we got this. We got this, okay? We've been through stuff like this before. I basically, when I say we, I'm talking to myself, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking to Armin. Like, we've been through this before. We've survived. This is one of those things that we're going to be able to survive again, right? So
yeah, that's right. I have another. It's the same. Like, the more, I think the older you get, the more you survive through things. You just notice that the worst things you go through, eventually, it's weird. Eventually, you look back on those things. You're like, well, I'm glad I went through that because it made me who I am. Like, things turned out for the best. So whenever I'm actually going through something like that at this age, I can say, well, one day I will, somehow this is going to be for the best. So I just have to kind of relax and ride it out. But rather, I think two things are really important for me. One is, instead of distracting myself from it, like, a distraction isn't a solution. They can look the same. People often distract themselves through tough things. I think it's really important to go through it rather than away from it, because that's the only way that you learn. The second thing is, I was a pathologist. I was very close to death for many, many years. For like, I think 6 or 7 years, I used to do a lot of autopsies. And one thing that I started thinking about a lot was death. And that actually gives me hope or positivity. Like, no matter how bad things get in your life, this sounds really terrible for me to say, but there's always a way out. There is a way out. That door is always there. It can happen. It's there for you. You can always end it all, and all of your problems will be over. And when you think about that, I know it's a weird way to think about things. When you think about that, it makes whatever you're going through more bearable. I don't know how it does, but for me, it does. So okay, I actually think about that every day. Yeah.
Let's do short answers from now. And I'm going to try. I know I don't know.
That question needed a long answer, though. Okay, Bobo is saying, a weird question. How do Muslim families cremate ex-Muslims? Do ex-Muslims think about how their funerals will take place?
Cremate?
Yeah. Well,
they don't.
they bury them generally,
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
I mean, there are many ex-Muslims I've heard who talked about they prefer to be cremated, and that's fine. I mean, I've a lot of ex-Muslims, just like regular people, they talk about what they want during their funerals, and
I don't think mixed Muslims are alike in that. Like, I don't think there's
they're not.
yeah. I think ex-Muslims are very and many questions, including that one, they have different answers. So what
Yeah,
they want is not going to be very similar. So yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they're just like everybody else. Everybody has their own preferences about
yeah,
how they want their funerals.
yeah. I'm not planning on dying. By the way, I'm going to freeze my head and I'm going to live forever.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
It's good. Bulbul is saying, pretty sure ex-Muslims will soon have to resort to endogamy because of love jihad laws.
in India.
In India?
Hmm.
I don't know that much about it. I don't know this sort of love jihad thing. I've been reading about it, but I am sensing, just like a lot of things in India right now, is that it is way more overblown than it really is. You know?
No. This one
Yeah.
is not. This one,
Is it?
no, this is. Well, I mean, it's mostly in Uttar Pradesh right now in UP, but it's
Yeah.
really bad. It is bad. It's like it's something that if it happened anywhere else, in any Western country, in North America and Europe, the whole world would be talking about it right now. But anyways,
All right, I'll take your word for it. Majid is saying, Ali, what are your opinions on the Second Amendment and Joe Biden's excessive gun control policies? Are they excessive?
they're not excessive enough.
Yeah, look, here's the thing with gun control. You have a car, right? To get a license for a car, you have to take a couple of tests. You have to know that you know how to operate a car, right? And a car is just something that you drive on the
Short
street.
answer. You need a license for a car. Yeah.
Yeah, you need a license for the car. You need insurance. You need training, and and it's conditional. If you screw it up, then you're gonna get it taken away. Same thing should apply to guns. That's not excessive. That's normal. That's normal. Guns are like these are things that kill people. They're only there to kill other things, right? So you at least have licenses that are dependent on training.
I mean, United States is way behind most advanced countries in the world. Like, it's not even getting close to most other countries. Right?
And one misconception, people think that
Ali,
there's a misconception about it. I mean, recently Canada came up with gun bans on a lot of like semi-automatic weapons. People thought, oh, didn't Canada already ban guns? No, you have gun rights here. You can buy guns, you can own them, you can get a license. It's just not insane. It's not insane like it is in the US. You can get them from Walmart. Okay,
I'm gonna respond to this. AJ is saying Susanna works too hard. Yes, she does. And if you support Atheist Republic, we can hire a lot of people more that are doing some of the work that she doesn't need to be doing. Like, Susanna is really good at so many things that she's not doing because she's get involved in the day-to-day tasks. So if we could give that to somebody else, her hands will be free to make Atheist Republic grow. So support us on Atheist Republic.
Armin, did you see the super chat? We got a super chat.
Yes. I'm getting there right after this one. It's getting here.
Okay, Shiva Das is saying this is more of an abstract question. Yeah, we already talked about this.
Oh yeah. So here's the super chat. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
$20. That's a huge super chat.
Yeah, and you said green tea, so I think green tea. Thank you, D. That's really
thank you so much for
super appreciated. Really.
Yes, thank you, D.
Susanna saying you're doing a Khashoggi episode, right? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we're going to. Yeah, that one that has to happen. Especially in light of recent developments. Okay, Bobo is saying, what do you guys think of Eastern religions like Hinduism and Buddhism when you were still Muslim?
I tried Falun Dafa in Iran, and as a kid, they were doing Falun Dafa in the park, and I went and I got interested, and I went and looked at it, and I immediately recognized as a kid that this is more like some of the most moronic things I've ever seen. Like, I got their book, I started reading it. I'm like, how do grown people actually believe this nonsense? And that that was my first experience with any ideology coming from the East, and because of that first impression I had, I painted them all as ridiculous, as nonsensical as my first experience with Falun Dafa, and I ended up being correct. So sometimes generalizations work.
Okay, so Agassim is saying sometimes they lift people by not at the side of the neck and not the back of the neck. I think this makes it longer to die. I think he's talking about the hanging thing that you were
Yeah,
discussing. Yeah.
that's horrible.
Alex is saying you mentioned quote enlightenment values a lot. Can you point to a place where they're spelled out clearly and definitively? What if you're accused of promoting the Church of Enlightenment?
This is actually one great thing about enlightenment values is that they're not fixed and they're self-correcting, right? One of the enlightenment values is accepting criticism and free speech and improving the methodologies, also the scientific method and stuff. For example, one of the enlightenment values is the scientific method, which is constantly self-improves, it constantly changes. Like some things about for example, one thing about the foundation of enlightenment values is that the people who promoted it were extremely flawed, and the way that they promote the excuses that they had for why it works as well was also very flawed. Like, oh, gifted by nature but not by God, or crap like that, right? So it's actually the opposite of what you're saying here, because enlightenment values are not fixed. One of the attributes they have is that they improve and self-correct, and that's very unlike a church of anything, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think I covered that. And here.
Okay, so Alex is also saying, Ali, why did you move yet again recently? Are you and Alishba still an item? No, we are separated. It's amicable. We're friendly. We are co-parents. So it's it's all generally okay, as well as it can be. But yeah, that's why.
What is it?
Muhammad Nawaz Baloch is saying, hey, Armin, you didn't say a thing about Sarawak Balochistan people are being killed by the mullah regime. You actually mentioned it last time.
Yeah, I did.
Baluch. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in the future as well.
Yeah, Muhammad, maybe if you had, maybe instead of saying that, you ask a question, this would be an excuse for us to say more about it, but you didn't ask a question. So there you go.
Sorry, I got to answer one thing really quickly. A very quick answer. Shuva Das is saying, Ali, rest in peace or injustice for all. There's a very, very good question.
Wait, where is that?
12:20 a.m.
Okay, hold on, I'll find it. There we go.
Oh,
thank you.
I am going to very slightly lean towards injustice for all, but rest in peace was absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. Only second to Countdown to Extinction, which I, for the first time, heard in Medina, and I was listening to on my Walkman while I was doing tawaf in Mecca as well. The Countdown to Extinction album, 1991, incredible. Okay, let's go on.
Just two more questions.
Awesome. Armin, you were Hellboy as Muslim kid. I like this guy. What would you tell him if you had a time machine and could go back then?
Don't wait. I wouldn't tell him anything, because then I would kill myself if I did. If I changed anything about my past, me today would not exist. It would be something else. So I would stay away from myself.
Yeah.
Right. So
okay.
That's how the butterfly, if any smallest amount of interaction will completely, in fact, I wouldn't go back in time, because I would just stepping back in time will basically kill myself today. Just like the butterfly, if I just going in and just touching the smallest item or sneezing or anything will completely change the course of that timeline in a way that me as I know it today would not even exist. So that would be basically suicide, and I would not do that.
Oh, anyways. You got it. Yeah, this one we got to do. Who's your favorite rapper? Armin, do you have an answer to this?
I don't have an answer to this.
I'm going to try to make this short, because this could be the possibly longest answer ever, but I'm not going to do that. It comes down to the first rapper I heard that actually blew my mind. I was like, this is completely new. I've never heard any of this, is Snoop Dogg. That was Doggy Style back in the 90s when that first album came out. The guy used to weave in and out of beats. He'd be offbeat at just the right places. His phrasing was absolutely incredible, and Eminem was really great later too. Jay-Z's amazing. Dre was phenomenal, even though he wasn't starting as a rapper. Eazy-E was the first guy. Like there's so many of them, but I think Snoop Dogg, the first time I heard it, I was like, this is truly innovative. Never heard anything like this before. It was incredible. After NWA, yeah, done. Aga Johanna is saying, how is Rahaf Muhammad Al Qanun doing? I've seen her tweet from time to time, but I think that she's kind of, I don't think she really is that, I don't know how many people she's communicating with, but she's not very public. She occasionally says things here and there.
Okay, I'm going to answer this one. Alex is saying, but there must be something that distinguishes an enlightenment value from others. Right. So there's a list of ideas that we have, for example, secularism, free speech, holding government accountability, separation of church and state. There's a list of things that we associate with enlightenment values. But the reason why we defend them is not because they belong to that list. The reason why we defend them is because through scientific method and proper data collection, that's we have proven that they make the world a better place. They reduce misery. These are the ideas and values that reduce misery more than any other sets of values and standards, right? So if any of these prove to be inferior to any other set of values that through analysis and data, through objective data collection methods and scientific analysis of them, then they will be replaced, right? So then it really depends on what you consider to be an enlightenment value. If you consider enlightenment values these list of values that belong there just because we have decided that they belong there, and then I do not support enlightenment values. But if you say these are enlightenment values because they have proven to make the world a better place and reduce misery, and they belong there, and they will be replaced if they prove otherwise, or if another idea proves to be a better value compared to these ones in reducing misery, if that's what you consider enlightenment values, if you're willing to change that list, if that's your definition of enlightenment values, then I support enlightenment values, right? So that depends on your definition. Alex is also saying this and this.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's actually not a bad situation at all. Don't worry, Alex.
Okay. Last question.
Okay, last question. But after that, we have to make our recommendations.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to get 2 minutes each to do that. Ayush Kumar is saying, my close friend who I'm trying to make an atheist asked me that who created the universe. What should I say? Can I answer this first? This can be very quick.
Yeah, you go.
Okay. You can say, okay, well, whoever created the universe, right? Who created that? Like, if the universe needs to have a creator, then the God who created the universe needs to have a creator. But if the God who created the universe does not need a creator, why does the universe need a creator? Simple as that.
Okay, my answer would be, if somebody asks you who created the universe, ask them, what do you think it's a who and not a what? Right? Instead of answering the question, ask them, how do they know it's a who and not a what? And let them go through the explanation of why they're saying who and not a what. And then when they come up with an explanation, then ask a question about that. And then ask a question about that. And
one more thing,
the question is a wrong question. The question
is.
It shouldn't even be a who question.
And the one other quick thing. The reason it's a wrong question scientifically, if you look at if there was a singularity and a Big Bang, right, that it all started from, that was also the beginning of time. So if time didn't exist, then there's no such thing as before. There's no such thing as before. There's no cause and effect. There's no creator. That's also another thing, but that is if you subscribe to that. There's a lot of different arguments you can go into. I've written about them in my book, and I think Armin has too.
Okay. So, what you wanted to recommend something?
Yeah, go for it. You want to recommend something that you said, something you came across this month? Book, movie, TV show, incident, personal experience that.
Okay, I'm going to recommend something not to do. Okay, I just recently got a book, which I'm sad that I didn't do more research before buying. And I already had another book that I got this book, Mythology, to read. And I thought it's like, I should have done a little bit more. I got tricked by how beautiful it looks. And it is really beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to recommend this book to anybody who enjoys Greek, Roman, and Norse mythology, right? It also comes, like the pages, it's such a beautiful book, but every once in a while it has an art piece in it as well, which is beautiful. It has some beautiful charts of the family structure as well in it. But the reason, it has some art.
Did you say the title of the book?
It's just Mythology.
Mythology by, it's just called Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes by Edith Hamilton.
Illustrated by somebody else.
That's
okay,
75th anniversary edition.
But the reason why I was disappointed is because it doesn't have a Greek Indian. No, sorry, it does have Greek. It doesn't have Hindu mythology. It doesn't have Egyptian mythology. So I really wanted. I thought this is gonna cover. Like, it has some really beautiful family trees in it as well. So that's it. If you're only interested in Greek, Roman, and North mythology, then this would be a very enjoyable book to go through. I am disappointed that it doesn't have, Egyptian and Hindu mythology in it. I should have done more research before buying it, but if you like that, I recommend getting this book.
All right. Okay, and I'm going to recommend a TV show that absolutely blew my mind. It's called Counterpart. It's on, I think it's on Stars, but you can get it on Amazon Prime. But anyway, look for it. Counterpart. That's the name of the show. It's got J.K. Simmons, who's a phenomenal actor. And what happens in it, I'll just give you the basic premise, is that at the time the Cold War is ending in Berlin, right, under one of their buildings, right where the wall is, they accidentally, a portal opens up into another dimension. The world duplicates, right? So there's a sort of parallel universe, and people are able to meet their others. Well, I mean, they're not supposed to meet their others, but they keep it secret, but they do develop diplomatic relations. They develop it. So it's like an espionage thing of these two worlds spying on each other. And everybody has a counterpart, and J.K. Simmons meets his counterpart. The first episode is phenomenal when they meet each other. And a lot of this isn't just about the science fiction. It's about identity, what decisions we made, when our paths diverged, how our choices make us who we are, how we think of ourselves. Are we really good or bad? How much is it in our genes, or is it circumstances that shape us? Can one moment just change everything for the better or for the worse? It's just an absolutely incredible, sort of simple concept that has been done in other places, but never to this kind of depth. So I think everybody, especially listeners of this podcast, would especially enjoy it. It's just an existential orgasm. So,
okay, wow.
We'll end on that. We'll end on the existential orgasm.
AJ is saying she's gonna check it out.
Great.
Anyways, cool. Thank you guys, and make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're new here, and if you're not new here, make sure to share our videos. So help us grow Secular Jihadists on YouTube. And yeah, thank you guys. See you again soon.
Thank you very much.
And if you're not a patron, if you are a patron, we're gonna have 4 more live streams coming soon and in next month. So if you're not a patron, consider becoming patrons. This is what we do with our patrons, like 5 times every month, right? But on specific topics. So if you enjoyed this and you want to do more live streams with me and Ali, then consider becoming a patron. Or if you just want to support the show, link is in the description. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Be best. Bye.
Be best.